Ethan. Oh man, that was really not funny. Hello, hello. I think I'm gonna boom. There we go. Less me. All right. I'm just talking to myself. It's perfectly fine. I hope everyone is doing well tonight. Hello, hello. It is Tuesday at 7:01 p.m. on the East Coast anyway. Say hello. Let me know that you're here. Tell me where you're from. I was just noticing that I had a lot of room here to stretch out because normally there's lots of people. And so we'll let everyone get in and situated and get the notifications and the alerts and all the things. So here we go. Hi, Yvonne. Hi, Katie. Now, that was just creepy. I can't. Yeah, that was weird. Hi, Thomas. What's up, man? How are you? Katie, I tried to sound. I was about to go, hi, Katie, and then I did. It was bad. Emily E from Texas. Emily, have you been? I think you've been with us once before. I'm from Texas too. Nick, Colorado loves you. I love Colorado, man. I can't wait to come out there. I have a secret plan to build a house one day in Estes Park. I love Colorado, so the feeling is quite mutual. Hi, Jen. Hey, there's Marissa. I'm doing okay, Thomas. I really am. Tracy in El Paso. I don't think we've had El Paso. Lots of people from Texas. It's a Texas contingency here. This is very exciting. Selwyn, I love that you call me a Yank. That makes me so happy. I don't know why, but it does. Oh, Midland, Odessa specifically. I know exactly where that is, Thomas. Hi, Gina. Hope everyone is doing great tonight. Just giving it a few more seconds just so people can come in, grab a seat. I'm very excited because normally I have lots of guests and I have lots of room to stretch out and say hello. Hi, Ethan. I like your lips. Really, Amy? You made me laugh and embarrassed me slightly. Well played, Amy Jenks. Well played. That's very funny. I've always been kind of curious what Ethan does when he's not doing just Ethan. Yeah, he's doing just other things, I think. Amy, you made me laugh. That's hilarious. I'm not even gonna go into what that means, but that's hilarious. All right. So anyway, I hope everyone's doing well tonight. As always, it's the every other Tuesday of every month, which I don't know if that's a thing, but it's the second Tuesday or third Tuesday. I don't know what Tuesday it is, but it's the right Tuesday. So thank you for joining me. I am so glad you're here. I really wanted to do, I was thinking about topics for today, and I just figured, favorite pastimes. That's a great question. I love to go out and like go to restaurants and movies and things like that, but obviously things are a little different. But I love movies. I love writing. I love dinners and conversations. I love my friends and family. I'm trying to think if there's any secret Ethan pastimes or talents. A lot of people don't know that I play the piano. So I've played the piano since I was about 6. That's kind of a secret Ethan talent. And the raising the eyebrows thing. So yeah, Thomas, I kind of enjoy that, but love movies and TV and hiking. I love to hike. And I love to hike with the girlfriend. So that has quickly become one of my most favorite pastimes. Willingness topic. Oh, that's a great idea. So yeah, to get back to where he's holy crap, he's just like, what? Knock down the pedestal. Thomas wrote, holy crap, he's just like us, knocks down pedestal. Oh, I know. I'm not special, guys. I am one of you for sure. Hey, Danielle from Michigan. Hope you're well. Okay, so I didn't pick a topic for tonight because I really just wanted to talk and see what you guys wanted to talk about and just open it up to questions right away. So so with that, let me just get through the quick stuff that I have to say, and then let's just talk and see what's going on. But Nick, I love the idea of willingness, so we can definitely start with that. So if you have comments, questions, or any topics that are on your mind, let's just jump into it. But first, let me just say this. As Ethan, in case you were wondering, I'm the national ambassador for the International OCD Foundation. This town hall is intended to serve as educational content and is not intended to replace therapy, mostly because I'm not a therapist. For treatment-related questions, please be sure to work with your local provider or contact a local clinician. The International OCD Foundation is not a crisis hotline. It should not be used if you are in distress or feel unsafe. If you're in a crisis or ever feeling suicidal or unsafe, please go to your local emergency room, call 911, or call the Suicide Prevention Hotline at 800-273-8255. As always, we like to be respectful and kind of others. This is a public forum, and although we like to try to create a safe space, it does get placed on YouTube and the Facebooks for all to watch. And so just keep that in mind as you ask questions. And but we're all very supportive and caring and compassionate in this space. So I say space now a lot because my girlfriend says space a lot, and it sounds really nice when she says it. So I adopted and stole many things from her. Anyway, I digress. So I think willingness is a great place to talk, or a great place to start. I apologize. So Nick, out of curiosity, I'm going to ask you to elaborate, and then we'll get back to your question. Do you have willingness, specifically willingness for change, or willingness to engage ERP, which is kind of the same thing, or treatment, or willingness to fight and resist OCD, or did you have something more specific in the topic of willingness, or willingness, anxiety, and just getting up every day? Just shoot me a quick comment on something you'd like to hone in on, and we'll definitely address it for sure. Oh, I need it tonight. Okay, willingness. I think so, Nick. Well, I'll give you a second to weigh in so I don't jump too far ahead. So yeah, Nick, what kind of willingness are you feeling? Just kind of ambivalent and unmotivated, and is that in terms of just life in general, or your OCD and resisting your OCD, or both? And I'll give you a sec to kind of weigh in, and then I'll continue, because I know me. I'll start answering questions and I'll start tangenting. Wait, Selwyn, you don't have, well, I guess I never thought about this, but 911 is only a US thing? I don't think I knew that. Huh. Am I the only one that didn't know that? For some reason, why did I think 911 was international? But I guess it's just a US thing. Or is it a North American thing? Okay, how do I, thank you, Katie. And Amy, thank you for picking up the slack. I appreciate it. You rock. So how do I cultivate willingness? So, okay, great question. So I think that there's a few thoughts. Willingness in terms of fighting OCD, and I like to be careful when I use the word fight, is tricky, because a lot of times depression comes along with OCD, and ambivalence, and just feeling like this sense of hopelessness and loss and confusion, and there's just a lot of things that go along with, sorry, my thing adjusted as always, and I lose my place. There is a lot of pieces to willingness, and I think a lot of times when our willingness not subsides, but goes down, we base a lot of our willingness on how we feel. So if we feel willing, then we're more apt to engage in trying harder. When we feel less than, or just feel crappy, we tend to act in accordance with how we feel in those emotions, and so our willingness drops. And for me, one of the big differentiators in me really making a really changing my willingness, increasing my willingness to change, not only from an OCD standpoint, but from a life-changing standpoint, was this idea that I didn't need to feel good to be willing, and I didn't need to change to be willing, and also I didn't need to necessarily feel passionate about things that perhaps I once loved or once felt passionate about that I wasn't quite feeling in the moment, to increase my willingness for change. So in other words, I know when I was struggling and really struggling, people would try to help me, clinicians would try to help me find my values or identify my values by talking about, well, what do you love to do, and what's important to you, and what do you dream of doing, and where do you want to go? And all I knew was, Like, I feel like crap. I'm sick. I haven't been able to get better so far, and I don't feel like any of these things. And I don't care what you're saying, and I don't like this stuff. And so immediately, I'm just shutting down the idea of as opposed to recognizing that, okay, well, these are things that I liked before, and I may not like them now or feel like I like them now, but really, how important is feeling in this case, and really make the willingness about the action and understand that the action comes first and the willingness comes second. It's great if you feel good, right? Because it's that much easier to engage in something difficult. It's much harder to do something even value driven or difficult if you feel crappy. But it's really separating those feelings from that willingness and understanding the bigger picture of why you're changing. What is your personal reason for engaging in healthier coping mechanisms or resisting OCD or doing what's important to you? What is the reason? And for you, Nick, what are the Nick reasons? Is it work? Is it relationships? Is it health? Is it a myriad of values? And start identifying values that are really specific to you and really personal. And it's okay if you don't necessarily feel any one way toward them. You still have values, even though if in the space that you're in, you're feeling a little down or a little bummed or a little depressed, those values haven't changed. They're there. You're just kind of overwhelmed with anxiety and everything like that, especially now with COVID and everything going on. And it's definitely, and also self-compassion, being okay not being okay, and being okay not feeling okay, and being okay not feeling that you're willing. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't try, but the idea that you just don't feel like is an okay way to feel. It just doesn't have to dictate your actions. So Nick, if you have more specific questions around willingness, I kind of talked broadly, but obviously ask away and we'll get to it. I need another OCD therapist. I am sure. Any recommendations for the Boston area? I saw, Debbie, that Amy Jenks, who is a wonderful therapist in San Francisco and just had an adorable, cute kiddo who I see daily on Facebook and is adorable. Sorry, I'm riffing. Recommended the IOCDF resource page. Yes, if you go to iocdf.org, they have a giant resource directory where you can search by state or zip code and find a therapist close to you. Let me add one thing, guys. All therapists are virtual right now. So you say Boston area, but I know that finding the right therapist or finding a therapist that has availability or openings is really hard right now. Or just in general, it can be really hard. So keep in mind that if you aren't near Boston or you're in Boston, but the other person, the therapist that you want is maybe in a different part of Massachusetts or whatever, keep in mind that because location doesn't really matter right now, as long as they're in your state and licensed in the state that you're in, you can see them. So it sounds like if you're in the Boston area, Debbie, there's tons and tons of amazing options in Boston. The IOCDF is based in Boston. But for anybody on here that might not live in a big metropolitan city, or maybe even live in a big city that just doesn't have that many good clinicians, keep in mind that you pretty much have access to your entire state now because all the clinicians are virtual. So it's never too early to get into treatment. Virtual therapy is as effective, if not more effective. Research is just coming out, but I've talked to so many people, clinicians and people and clients and patients that feel that way. And you can think of it as at-home therapy at the cost of at a regular therapy session. So just some tips and tidbits. Marissa, any tips on redirecting or using the 4 steps in general if you're familiar with the 4 steps? Well, I'm definitely familiar. I'm familiar with, I hope my girlfriend is not watching because she probably knows what the 4 steps is. I'm definitely familiar with redirecting, but I don't know that I know the 4 steps. Amy may have already seen this question and commented. But if you're talking, I tend to, if you're talking about if you're caught in a thought or a feedback loop and you want to redirect away and try to get into something else, I tend to use the word opposite action. But actually, before I go into this, Marissa, I want to make sure I'm talking on the right thing. Can you give me a little bit more details on the 4 steps? Now I want to Google it, but if you give me a little bit more information, I can definitely give you some tips on redirecting and or as I call it, opposite action, which is an acceptance commitment therapy treatment modality, which is Hi. Okay, that was fun. I am so sorry about that, guys. Um, I had technical difficulties. So apologies. I hope everyone is still here. Yes? Okay, let's continue. I actually saw where Amy and I tag teaming. Oh, just Googled it. Oh, I feel better now. Where was Amy's, Marissa, looking for Amy's post. I just saw it, and she weighed in on, let's see here. Relabel, reattribute, refocus, and revalue. I like that. Do you want to, hey, Jess, do you want to put up Amy's comment at 7:16 p.m.? Relabel, reattribute, refocus, and revalue. This is in regards to Marissa's question. Awesome. Thank you. Let me refine Marissa's question. Apologies. I got kicked off and I have to research for everything. I'm so sorry. I got thrown. I think I lost some information here. Okay. Well, Marissa, I remember your question, so I apologize, guys. I got my attention thrown, and when that happens, well, nothing good comes of it. So she asked about redirection. So she asked if I knew about the four steps. Amy wonderfully Googled for me. So the 4 steps are relabel, reattribute, refocus, and revalue. So the short of it is, I'm not familiar with this, but I love what this is saying. I think redirection is a really important tool in combating OCD and anxiety in general. I think that this is probably really good ways to look at how to redirect in a way that's healthy, because what we don't want to do is use redirection as avoidance, where we're redirecting in a way that is not toward our values and just in an effort to avoid a situation that may be triggering or cause us anxiety. So these are probably good ways of perhaps relabeling and then adding a different attribute to the situation, and then refocus and revalue, which is basically, so opposite action is identifying the fact that you're stuck in a thought or a feedback loop, whatever the fear is, and you may even be stuck obsessing and compulsing. Be willing to sit with that discomfort, and then instead of actively engaging in ERP, you can change your focus to something that's very value driven and healthy. Go for a walk, get on the phone with a friend. And it's important to do ERP. I'm not saying don't do ERP, but I use opposite action all the time when I'm not actively in treatment for OCD. So that's the thing with ERP. I do ERP all the time. Just as I talk about many times, but with opposite action, it's a great tool if you're in the midst of something and you're busy and you recognize that you're stuck a little bit and you're just like, okay, what's important to me? What do I need to do right now? What am I doing in this moment? And you just turn your attention to those things. And that's sort of the refocus and revalue and what's important. The relabel and reattribute is an interesting concept, and I'd probably like to explore that more. But thank you for pointing that out, Marissa. I really appreciate that. And thank you, Amy, for Googling that. And I'll definitely look more into that. And Marissa, I have any, if you're still on, it would be great if you have any experience with this and what your thoughts are. I'd be definitely curious to know. Okay, let's keep going here. Rereading, please need to reread for studying, but OCD is making, oh, okay. So Aaron at 7:09 p.m. asks, rereading, please need to reread for studying, but OCD is making it a compulsion. So my first question is, Aaron, you said you need to reread for studying, but so where does, let me rephrase that. Are you able to identify, are you rereading because you need to comprehend or better understand what you're reading, but then OCD is working its way in and it's becoming a compulsion? Or is the rereading always a compulsion in your case? But regardless, if you need to reread things to get a better understanding of what the information is, you don't need to stop rereading it. But there is a point, and for you, it's important to be able to detect where it crosses that line into a compulsion, and being really aware of that and trying to notice when it crosses over into that place and resist continuing to reread and sitting with that anxiety and that discomfort. Now, it's also okay if this is a fairly new thing for you, if you suddenly realize that you're compulsing, and then in that moment, stop rereading and move on to something else. But eventually you'll get to a place where you get very good at noticing where it crosses over into that line. So this reminds me of, what we've been talking a lot with COVID, with washing our hands, right? And like, well, let me wash my hands one more time, or let me just do it 25 seconds of it instead of 20 seconds, and all this. There's a point at which there's a part of you that isn't impacted by the OCD that recognizes that you've done everything that you need to do and you don't need to do it anymore, but then the OCD noise gets in there and convinces you to keep doing it. So I would ask yourself, as objectively as possible when you're not in one of those moments, because you have the most insight when you're not triggered, how much rereading do you actually need to do? And are there rules that you can put into place for yourself? For instance, like I sucked at math in school. I mean, I still suck at math. That's not new. I obviously still suck at math. But so I would have to probably, reread math sections 3 or 4 times. But I would get it usually on the 3rd or 4th time. So is there an amount of rereading that you do where you finally get it? And then is your thoughts, well, wait a minute, what if I don't have it? Or what if I got it wrong? Or what if I didn't read it correctly? Or I may not understand it. Let me go back and reread it again. And if you hold yourself to whatever your goal is of how many times rereading, and then don't do it from there, that'll help. So maybe pick an amount of time that's worked before and stick to that and resist the compulsions. Nick wrote, I can't seem to find my willingness to do the hard work. Okay, that's specific. Thank you so much, Nick. So this is in regards to willingness and motivation. And I touched on pieces of this. So Nick, this is at 7:09 p.m., Jess. Sorry, guys, I'm behind a little bit on the questions. I'll move along as quickly as I can. This is such a common issue in treatment. Hold on, I'm gonna back up the frame so my face isn't in the question. There we go. This is such a common thing. I know I struggled with it and do struggle with it. The hard work is where the magic is in terms of defeating the OCD and living a really beautiful life, but also it's the hardest part of your hierarchy. And there's a lot of doubt thoughts that can pop in when you're tasked with doing the hard work, right? Is it going to be this hard the rest of my life? Why am I doing this? What am I doing this for? Maybe I should just give up. Maybe there's literally a gazillion thoughts that you can think of. The willingness to do the hard work can come from 2 or 3 places, I believe, in my opinion. One, radical faith. We know what the word faith is, but radical faith is is a huge part of my own treatment and my own maintenance moving forward. Radical faith is just a willingness to accept what is or isn't based on faith and not proof, which is pretty much, I mean, we only have certainty over our focus and behavior and our own actions and really nothing beyond the moment. So in a way, everything is faith. So can you have radical faith in accepting the may or may not approach to whatever your OCD fears are? Radical faith is a huge, 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 huge step, because sometimes you're being asked to step off a cliff with the understanding that there's this really fantastic place on the other side. However, you can't see the other side and it just looks like a terrible dark abyss, and go ahead, step off it. And that's really scary. And so radical faith is just having faith in this belief that there is something better. And I can tell you that it is. There absolutely is. It is worth it, but it is so hard. So I always humbly say it is worth it, but it is so difficult. So radical faith is number one. This belief that you don't need proof. The proof is in anyone that you talk to that has gotten better from OCD. That's the proof. The proof, Nick, is if you've made progress in your own life, and even in a small way with OCD in terms of treatment, then that's proof, right? So then the rest has to be faith. Second of all, this concept of bring the body and the mind will follow. You don't need to necessarily believe, just move in that direction, the willingness will follow. So, if you're waiting around for willingness to come, that's okay. And I know it's easier when you feel super empowered and just, I'm going to grab the life by the horns and really go after it. But I would suggest also, sorry, I'm getting text and it's distracting me, so I'm going to turn my phone over. I would also consider this idea of moving your body and going into action regardless of willingness or not, because moving forward is in fact willingness. So really just not putting a lot of stock in your feelings at the moment. Finally, very clearly, and I touched on this stuff earlier, very clearly identifying your values. Nick, what's important to you? What is important to you? What is meaningful to you? What are you not willing to live without or give up? And OCD is not a choice. You don't get to pick OCD. And identifying what those things are and recognizing that every time you choose to just give into OCD, you're actively choosing not to do whatever it is that's really, really important to you. And you can really make it specific. It doesn't have to be mental health or physical health or relationships. It can be, Barbara down the street is super cute. And if I totally ask her out if X, Y, and Z, but right now I'm really worried about all of these things and I don't want to ask her out, right? So every time you choose a compulsion, you're choosing to say, no, I don't want to ask Barbara out. So really making things specific. For me, radical faith, moving your body despite your emotions and how you're feeling and not relying on feeling to dictate how you move forward, and values and identifying values really help me increase my willingness to change. You can always go back to OCD. That's always an option. But at the end of the day, what do you have to lose? It's uncomfortable, it's scary, it's terrifying. I know all of those things, but the journey is with it. As I said in my keynote, the investing the pain today is worth the pleasure the rest of your life. Short-term pain, long-term gain. So dive in. Don't look for the right feeling to do the hard work. Do the hard work because it works. Nikki, am I on your blacklist? You never say hi to me anymore. No, you're not on my blacklist. Not at all. Not at all. Maybe I was probably I think it was a compulsion that I was always saying hello to you. A shout out. So I was taking a break. But hi, Nikki. Hope you're well. Nick says, I know what to do, but I can't seem to do it. Yes, depression follows ERP. The thing I'll say, Nick, is that was me. That was me. I could teach ERP to anybody suffering with OCD. I could write treatment plans, but I couldn't figure out how to flip the switch myself. For months and months and months and months and months and months and months. I couldn't figure it out. Couldn't figure out how to do it. And I see you just wrote, I'm numb now. I felt that same way. And for me, most of you know my story, but this idea of suddenly when life became more, I had to literally choose life or choose OCD. And if I didn't choose life, I probably would have died. Being put in that position forced me to shift. But the things that I just spoke about, you don't need to hit that rock bottom. The things that I just spoke about are the things that I ended up doing from that place that really, really benefited me. So I know that you feel numb. I know that it's hard to think. I know that you're depressed. I know that there's tons of thoughts about what's the point and what if and who cares and there's this and there's that. But just like OCD, like do it anyway. Do it anyway. Ignore it. Wave at those thoughts. Wave at your feelings. Wave at the ambivalence. Be like, hi, I see you. No different than like not wanting to go to the gym, but you go because you want to look good. So that would be my suggestion, Nick. Let's see here. I feel that outlook. No need to feel good to be willing to push through. I like that outlook. No need to feel good to be willing to push through and make a change. That's a great idea. Thank you, Danielle. That was something that was really impactful for me. It wasn't something that I knew before going into treatment. But we really, really, really put a lot of stock into our feelings. A lot of stock into our feelings, whether it's emotional reasoning, which means if I feel it or think it, it must be true, but especially feel it. If I feel guilty, I must have done it. If I feel sad, then I must be this. If I feel whatever the feeling is, the feeling must validate the thought that's causing the feeling. We put so much feelings, and there are times and places where feelings are so important, like being in love. But OCD is a place where we don't necessarily want to pay attention to our feelings. Doesn't mean that your feelings aren't valid. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be having those feelings. It simply means posing the question, do you want your feelings to dictate your actions? And the idea of doing something, changing the idea from I'm going to do this because it's going to make me feel better to I'm going to do this because it's in line with my values and it's what OCD doesn't want me to do. And at the end, it's going to make me feel better at some point down the road. That's the reason to do it, right? So thank you. I'm glad you like that. I think that's been really helpful for me. Thomas wrote, many of us, if not all, had to finally hit that reason I did before I really dove into help. That's true. You do at 9:12 p.m. wrote, hi, Ethan, in regards to sexual identity OCD, what can one do when there's the doubt that it might not be OCD? The one is in denial and won't truly accept it. It's a really tricky, tricky subtype. And I have to be honest with you in the sense that there's so much doubt about whether it might not be OCD for so many people in so many different subtypes. What if I'm crazy? What if it isn't OCD? What if I actually killed somebody? What if it's not OCD? What if I actually am a pedophile and or I really want to do it and it's not OCD? There's the doubt on top of the doubt. And those are really tricky things to work through. And really, it's where OCD gets pretty messy for sure, because it's double layers of stigma and double layers of questioning. And it's not just the what ifs and the doubts and the thoughts around the sexual identity, but then the doubts about the doubts. Is it valid? Is it really this? Or am I just this way? I don't know if you're working with a clinician or a therapist. I think flushing and tweezing that out with obviously an expert and a clinician is definitely the best way to go. In general, if you're in a place where OCD is sort of ruling at the moment, I try to treat all doubt as OCD. And I definitely did that when I was struggling consistently and in treatment. I just always assumed that if there was doubt, it was OCD. So if it walked like a duck, if it talked like a duck, if it smelled like a duck, it was a duck. And because it's too time consuming to always try to determine if it's an OCD thought or it's a regular thought, or if it is OCD or if it's not OCD, or I'm not sure what's OCD and all that stuff, right? All thoughts are the same, but I'm saying if it's attached to your OCD or not. So for me, what I found very helpful was if I had even the slightest doubt, like the slightest sniff that it may or may not be OCD, I just ran with it and assumed it was OCD and acted in accordance with, my values and what was important, and be willing to be wrong. That's a hard thing to do. We want to do ERP perfectly. We want to make sure, we want to have certainty, right? The question is, I need certainty that I actually have sexual identity OCD, that I question it because it's OCD. So, and that's a lot to have to deal with. It's not just, the OCD itself and the symptoms associated with it, but questioning whether it's even an issue or not. But we have to recognize that it's just thoughts, and we have to treat it just like the OCD itself. Recognize that there's doubt. You have to be willing to take a risk that it might not be OCD, but it probably is. But I don't know for sure. So all you can do is what we're all trying to do, is just do the best that we can with the information that we have, and try to move forward with that. And as you gain insight and you gain objectivity and you move away from the sort of the compulsions and those things, I think you'll continue to gain insight and a more objective point of view of whether it is. But you're not alone. You're not alone. OCD generally comes with that twinge of what if it's not OCD? I know that I've had it. So keep doing the ERPs if you are. Try and find a therapist if you can. But I understand that it's definitely a sticky place or a sticky point, but you treat it just like the OCD itself, which is I don't know. I just have to do the best I can in this moment. This is what I am. This is what I'm. I have a friend. Obviously, won't say his name, but he actually had something similar where there's a lot of people with HOCD that are afraid they may be gay. He was actually afraid he may be straight, and he's a great guy and a great advocate, and he specifically he had just come out and really let everyone know who he was, but then he worried his OCD was around, well, wait a minute, what if I've just done all this stuff and kind of upended my life and I'm not gay? What if I'm straight? And what if this is an OCD? What if I really am straight? And he started doubting the doubt. And so at the end of the day, he just had to accept the decision that he made, with the information that he had, and move forward as if, kind of like what Marissa was saying about the redirection. You just have to act as if, until you have more information. So hopefully that helped, Idu. Danielle wrote, I got my willingness from completing the ERP motivator sheets in Jonathan Grayson's book. Being honest about what I've lost to OCD pushes me to move forward with ERP. What a great point, Danielle. John Grayson's book, Freedom from OCD, it's probably one of the best books out there. Hopefully, it's one of the best books out there for OCD, and Jess will put a link to it. So recognizing, and that's what I was talking about, your values, but recognizing what you lost. I talked about that in recognizing. Lost my train of thought. Sorry, guys. Recognizing your values and what's important to you and the things that you're giving up, but also what has OCD already taken from you. I could list hundreds of things that OCD took away from me in my life, and the reasons that I'm so staunch about not giving into it now is because I don't want to lose any more. It doesn't mean I'm perfect at it. Doesn't mean I don't compulse, but I really am not interested in losing any more of my life or time to OCD. And so, Nick, hopefully, Danielle, that's great advice and a great reminder. Absolutely. What you've lost to OCD really is a good motivator. Selwyn wrote, willingness has a lot to do with reality, whether we have a passion for it or not. No matter how bad our day is, life still moves that life still moves that reality. And that's true. That is definitely true. Nick wrote, huddle.care, treatmyocd.com. Those are great places. Actually, just below that, Chrissy Hodges. I don't know, Chrissy, if you're still here, but Chrissy has peer support and peer groups. And then Treat My OCD is, Nick, I don't know if you were answering somebody's question, but he's talking about NOCD, which is a great app that you can download that has so candidly, just to give you guys some information, I had to up. This is personal, but whatever. It's only the internet. What do we care? I had to slightly increase one of my medications, and I've talked about this before a little bit. That this is not OCD related. This is mania related. I can get a little manic at times, so I have a lot going on, and I had to up, and I just increased it 4 days ago. And like, as you guys know, if you've been on medication, it just makes everything so fuzzy and so yeah, that's why I'm kind of all over the place and distracted and kind of having trouble formulating thought. So yeah, I apologize for that, but at least I wanted to be open with you guys and honest why that is. Yes, Nick, Treat My OCD is nocd.com. Great resource for virtual therapy. They're licensed in something like 26 or 28 states, as well as good ERP tools. Huddle.care. Huddle Care is a great platform, which Chrissy Hodges is working in conjunction with, which is OCD support groups and peer-led support groups. I think if you go to Chrissy's website, ocdpeers.com, you can check out everything that she's doing. Meg Upton wrote, I thought opposite action was DBT. Considering today, you're probably right, Meg. So I'm going to default to your expertise on that. Marissa, opposite action is a concept in DBT. Okay, thank you for that. They occasionally get confused, but yeah, acceptance commitment therapy is a behavior. Wow, is a exposure-based, action-oriented treatment, and DBT is all about the feelings. But yeah, that's why I got confused. Action is, but yes, opposite action is DBT. Robin wrote, Ethan, thanks for your keynote. My kid's therapist showed it to them and at Rogers, minus the Dexter scene, which probably would have not helped with insomnia. And they were like, OMG, someone else who gets it. So thank you for speaking up and out. You're so welcome, Robin. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Let me just quickly scroll up because the comment shift, and I apologize. Let me quickly look for questions. If you guys, I was reading everything, but thank you so much for advocating, for giving your thoughts and input, and even correcting me. I'm always appreciative for that. Let's see here. Okay, 4 steps was one of the first things I learned. Technical difficulties, that's when I disappeared. I'm just going to look for questions. Okay. Robin, therapist on the site. We are in Seattle and I've gone up and down. Okay. So, RE therapist on the site. Okay. So Robin writes, we are in Seattle and I've gone up and down the list multiple times trying to find a therapist. Some wouldn't take a kid. Some wouldn't take a kid with suicidal history. Some had wait lists of 100+. Not sure how to support people who need to find a therapist, but it's been really hard. Now mine is at Rogers, but in a major city with insurance and a mom working hard to support. If I can't find help, imagine how difficult it is for someone in crisis. So Robin, the gist of it is absolutely, it's terrible. It's horrible. Access to effective, affordable, and access to treatment is one of the reasons we work so hard. I work so hard. The IOCDF works so hard at advocacy, is to destigmatize and make sure that we can get enough therapists trained in the right way to taking insurance, whatever we need to do to drive costs down. So I'm so sorry for your experience. I am happy to hear that your child's at Rogers. That's very, very, and I know it's hard without the insurance and all that, but although I think Rogers takes insurance, but I'm so glad that he's there. And you're absolutely right. That's why we're so driven to do what we do. I know it's why I'm driven to do what I do. The relabel step includes saying it's not me, it's OCD. When you have an urge to perform a compulsion, can be helpful or can become reassurance. Oh, that's interesting. So of the 4 steps, the relabel step includes it's not me, it's OCD. Okay, very cool. I love that you guys are really engaged and talking to each other. That's why I love doing this. So thank you. Hi, Ethan. Any advice on what to do if your OCD predictions keep coming true? Example, you tell yourself your OCD is true if the next number you see is 7 and the next number is 7 and it keeps happening. It's a great question. So you can put this up if you want, Jess, at 7:22 p.m. Elisa writes, any advice on what to do if your OCD predictions keep coming true? You tell yourself OCD is true if the next number you see is 7 and the next number you see is 7 and it keeps happening. So there's a couple quick thoughts to this. I'll move a bit quicker so I can get to some other questions. But Elisa, we see what we want to see. Ever shop for a car and there's one that you really like and then you're driving around and you always see that car everywhere? It's kind of the same thing. I will tell you that there have been a few times when my OCD came true, when my OCD was like, don't eat that food, it's going to make you sick. And I ate it and it made me sick. I ate coleslaw one time that I thought didn't taste right, but I didn't want to give in to my fear about food poisoning. And so I ate it anyway and then got food poisoning. And then I was like, oh my God, my OCD was right. I can never eat again. The reality of it is that thoughts are thoughts and thoughts can be right sometimes. And perhaps OCD is right sometimes. It's all circumstantial. The question is it enough of a reason to always listen to OCD and give up whatever of your life you're giving up because of OCD? You have to weigh the pros and cons. So for me, right, if I know that, and I mean, it didn't tasted funny. It wasn't like, eating motor oil. But for me, for instance, with food, if a chicken looks a little pink and I'm worried about it, but I also know how severe my OCD can get around that, I'll eat the chicken every time. And maybe my OCD will be right, maybe it won't, but I just know how far the rabbit hole goes with my own OCD, and I'm just not willing to do it. So to your point, sure. I you know what? I can relate to this. I just had a thought. When I was in high school, I went through the fear of having AIDS, having HIV. And I used to play this, and I swear when that happened, every time I turned on a TV, there was a commercial for it. Every time I turned on the radio, there was somebody was talking about AIDS or HIV. And I would even play games with myself, like, okay, if I switch the radio station and there's a thing about HIV on, that means I probably have it. And I would turn the station and it would be on. So I totally relate to that. But I would ask you, you know, is that the way you want to live? You know, is your OCD right all the time, or is it coincidence? Or if your OCD is ruining your life, you know, I would say, and also this question in itself is very much in support of OCD. You're arguing for OCD, right? And it's a valid question. I'm not picking on you, but what I'm saying is, it's like, hey, my OCD is true all the time. Isn't that a reason I should listen to it? You know, and I would say, well, how's your life otherwise? And, you know, if you're struggling, then, you know, maybe OCD is right, maybe OCD is wrong. It's not going to be right all the time, I guarantee you. That's not how this works. And so I would tell you to, you know what, chalk it up and move forward. Selwyn wrote, was there not research done onto how the fast loop process is compared to a pattern of thought on a non-OCD person? And if the loop in OCD, can it be that fast the brain cannot logically stop the loop as a normal person could? Okay, you don't need to put this up, but I think I get what you're saying. So, you know, the reality is, the idea, we're not trying to stop the feedback loop, right? When we first are in the midst of OCD, it's really hard to recognize we're even compulsing, which is why when we first get into OCD treatment, it doesn't feel like a choice. And when our therapist says, oh, you have a choice not to do that, you're like, no, I don't. I have to do this. I can't not do it, because it feels so immediate, and it feels so instant, and it feels so automatic. But in fact, you know, it's not about, and you may not mean this, Selwyn, but it's not about thought suppression. It's not about stopping the loop. It is in the long run, but in the immediate future, it's about accepting that your brain's having those thoughts and those loops anyway, that's having that, and doing something meaningful anyway, despite the uncomfortable thoughts and the uncomfortable feelings. So it's about engaging in something meaningful. It's about, you know, exposing yourself to the things, embracing the scary thoughts of being like, bring it, take it, bring it, scream at me, I don't care. Keep looping, la, 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 that's nice, I see you. Now I'm going to go do what's important to me. So, and over time, when you do that, that's when the feedback loop, that thought loop that's happening fast, starts to break. It starts to scratch the record, if you will. I mean, and one of my favorite analogies, honestly, is simply, you know, the bully analogy with this, which is, you know, the bully bullies you in middle school. I was bullied in middle school, you know, if I cried and made a big deal, he kept bullying me. It gave him power. And if I had agreed with him and beat him to the punches, then he would have stopped, because he wouldn't be getting the reaction. If I was like, yeah, I'm fat and I'm ugly and you know, nobody will ever sleep, whatever he was saying, if I beat him to it, he would be like, that's what I'm supposed to say. Okay, I know now. And OCD acts the exact same way. So it seems very automatic at first, but as you break it down and willing to sit with the thoughts and the feelings, a willingness to sit with it and let it be there. We're not trying to push it away. We're trying to make room for it, and at the same time go, you do your thing and I'm going to do my thing. And it's cool. Like, you can come in, but I'm not going to serve you tea. You can just chill here, and I'm going to go do what I need to do. And over time, they eventually leave because they're not going to get tea. So if that makes sense, Selwyn, I think that's what you mean. Marissa at 7:23 p.m. broke down the 4 steps. Thank you so much, Marissa. I'm actually going to look into that. So thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. That's very, very cool. Ashley Rivera writes, I've sort of given up looking for an OCD specialist. Help is pretty slim where I live. So my question is, if I keep trying to treat my OCD myself, will it take longer for me to get better? The process has been so slow and I'm not getting anywhere. I keep buying books, but I've yet to try the methods. So I'm afraid to let go of my compulsions. So Ashley, some quick things. Number one, I'll give out my email at the end, but please email me. The IOCDF and peace of mind as well. Hopefully we can help you locating a therapist. I'm not sure. Oh, where you live. I don't know where you live. If you live in the States, as I mentioned, NOCD or Treat My OCD is a great resource. They do virtual therapy, but all therapists are virtual right now. So I'd be very curious what your personal circumstances are and if we can't help you find somebody. So definitely shoot us an email when I give out my email at the end, and we'll see if we can't help. But you can also check out NOCD. Oh, Amy, Amy on it. So yes, check out NOCD. It's in the Apple App Store and Google Play. Here we are. I tried, but no one is available yet in New Mexico. I've been on a wait list for about a year. Same with another therapist in my area. Okay. So thank you for Ashley for definitely shoot me an email. It's justethan@iocdf.org. Justethan@iocdf.org. We'll put it up at the end. But we'll see if we can't, because there's also the option of perhaps finding people, other therapists in other states that are also licensed in New Mexico. But Texas is obviously very close to New Mexico, and Peace of Mind has pretty good feelers into that area. So perhaps we can reach out to Peace of Mind and see if they can help. So Ashley, definitely email me, and you can also email the IOCDF at info@iocdf.org. But there's my email right there. Shoot me an email, and we'll see what we can find out for you. Also, with OCD predictions, if you have religious scrupulosity, OCD is seeing it as a sign or a warning that you'll be punished. Absolutely, that makes true. That's absolutely true. Let's see. Selwyn, can we logically stop the loop? That's the thing. So yes, to my point, you don't want to stop it. And over time, you stop it by not trying to stop it. It's paradoxical, but it works for sure. Oh, that's a great idea, Amy. Amy also, Amy in the house. I'm gonna send her half my paycheck from this, which is 0. But thank you, Amy. Amy also said recommends contacting Chrissy Hodges, who can work with you to find a therapist in New Mexico. Chrissy, Ashley, when you shoot me an email, I'll give you Chrissy's information as well. And she can definitely help you find one as well. Good call, Amy. Amy, Amy put her email address, which is chrissyhodges.com. Amy for the win today, y'all. Okay, so Shelley Richardson wrote, even with being in love, love starts with an action. So I guess that means if we act by doing ERP, then hopefully the feelings or fear will dissipate. Exactly right. Hey, that line was from 90210. Flipping the switch, nice. I'm still looking for values too. I'm so grateful for you sharing your direct experience. You're my role model and give me hope. Thank you. You can really make a difference. Thank you so much, Nick. You guys give me hope and inspiration. So the feeling is definitely mutual. Ashley, again, email me and we can talk about some of that stuff. You're welcome, Edu, for your answer. Let me quickly keep scrolling down here. There's some links to Freedom from OCD for John Grayson's book. Hi, Anissa. How's everyone doing? Of course, the comment shifted. Okay, moving on right along. Thank you for sticking with me. It was a little bit of a challenge. Oh, Chrissy's still here. Yeah, so she wrote, go to OCDpeers.com. OCD Peers is a new business, a new offering that she's offering. Wow. Listen, guys, you know what? We can't be perfect all the time, right? This is part of our thing. And so, yes, this is where I'm at currently. Hopefully the fuzzy will go away soon. But OCD Peers is a great new support group system where they do multiple support groups, peer-led support groups every day of the week on a variety of topics. Chrissy Hodges is a great peer support specialist and a dear friend of mine. And so, yeah, if you want to go to OCDpeers.com, you can reach out to Chrissy there, as well as see some of the support groups that she's going on. And she also has private clients for her peer support and things like that. So definitely a great resource. Okay. Thank you for all the kind words, guys. I really appreciate it. Great comments. Thank you. I'm struggling to do ERP on my own, but did well in IOP. That was pre-COVID. Now with COVID, I am struggling severely, yet I have Oregon Health Plan, which most IOPs don't accept. Okay. So, sorry, I was reading it to myself. Shelley, actually, if you want to email me, I can tell you more about insurance and things like that. It's super complicated why most plans don't take insurance, and I know with COVID, health anxiety has really spiked among other things. So yeah, if you want to email me, we can talk more about that for sure. Let's see here. Okay, I think we're down to the bottom, which is great. I have one more. Phyllis Taylor wrote, I have trouble motivating myself to do much of anything. Everything has always been either hard because I am compulsing or hard because I am resisting compulsions. I don't really even know at this point how to enjoy or find satisfaction in everyday activities. That's so common, Phyllis, and I'm so sorry you're going through that. Like I said, the compulsions take up the life, or feeling like you're having to resist and fight is so exhausting. You feel like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And I totally understand that place. And I'm sorry that you're there. What I can tell you is, I don't know if you just got here, but there's help, there's hope. ERP treatment does work. And so don't give up. Whatever you do, don't give up. Email me, email the IOCDF, email Peace of Mind. Keep fighting, because there's definitely a silver lining, and you do get to a place where you do not have to work as hard as you are working to keep the OCD at bay. I can speak from personal experience on that. Last question, and then I have something I want to share with you guys. So hopefully there's people still here, because I have some cool stuff that I want to show you. So hang tight. Oh, my email. Could you flash my email, Jess, for Shelly? It's justethan@iocdf.org. So Danielle wrote, so it's normal to feel numb or nonchalant during the process of ERP. Is the next step little or anxiety from the triggers or subtype? Is the next step little? Do you mean little or no anxiety? But basically, look, here's the thing. Wherever we come to, wherever we are in our process, I know that I felt numb and completely ambivalent when I entered ERP for the first time in ERP treatment. And I was very anxious and all of the above. And I think it's normal to be wherever you are. So everybody is we all have OCD, and that's what we have in common. But all our journeys are completely unique. And we all come from different circumstances and different processes to getting help. I just talked about this, I forgot, in another town hall. But, for me, after going to 10 different therapists, none of who did the right treatment, then, oh, it's my meds, sorry. Okay, well, still though, Danielle just wrote it's my meds. But no, don't apologize, because it doesn't need to be your meds. And a lot of times when you start treatment, they up your meds anyway, or you get on for the first time and you do feel that ambivalence and that numb feeling. And the question is, what do I do about it, right? And so what I was getting at was, I was talking about journey. Like for me, I didn't have hope when I went into treatment, because by the time I found the right treatment, 10 doctors said they could help me, and none of them did, because they all did talk therapy. So when I found the right person that did ERP, they said the same thing that all the other doctors said, and I was like, F you, no, you can't. And so like I went in with no hope and just like a piss poor attitude. Other people that I know got diagnosed, and it may have taken 2 years to find treatment, but they didn't have any other treatment, and they went to treatment for the first time and they did really well very quickly. Others not. It's just the circumstances are so unique. So the question is, when you're there, what are you going to do about it? I know that feeling of that numbness, that hopelessness, that even inability, that's so fuzzy, the inability to just form thoughts or give a crap about any of it, frankly. And I think probably Nick is relating to some of this too right now. And the reality is just to be gentle with yourself. Practice self-compassion. Understand that it's a process in baby steps, and that it is worth it. It is worth it if you just take even just little tiny gains. It is worth it. Even medication, no medication, little tiny steps forward. That's the goal here. So this was an interesting one. You guys were awesome tonight. I want to thank my my co-host Amy Jenks for showing up and helping me a bit. You were awesome. So thank you, Amy. I apologize again for my bit of fuzziness and rambling on this time, but thank you for sticking with me. I really, really appreciate it. So here's the information. Okay, so cool thing going on. Stick with me. We're going to go 2 minutes over. Sorry, Jess, but I want to make you guys aware of something that's going on. So if you're familiar with two people, Stuart Ralph from the OCD Stories, and which is a phenomenal podcast. If you know it, you know it. If you don't, definitely check it out. And Sean Shinnick, who is the founder and creator of Draw Your Monster. He's an incredible artist, have teamed up to do a project in honor of and to support the foundation Riley's Wish. Riley's Wish is an amazing nonprofit founded by Margaret Sisson, who unfortunately and tragically lost her son to an accidental overdose in 2014. He suffered with substance use disorder and OCD. And she created this nonprofit to address specifically that, which is probably one of the most stigmatizing combinations and one of the hardest, not the hardest things, but the most uncommon to treat simultaneously. And so they teamed up. And Jess, I think I sent you, great, yeah, Jess is putting all the links to Draw Your Monster. You should check it out. To Riley's Wish, please check it out. And to OCD Stories. But I think I sent the link in an email, but I just want to read this to you guys. This is really cool. If not, I'm going to put it in the private chat, and she can send it to you. So Sean and Stu got together, and they created some really awesome shirts with super custom, amazing Sean Shinnick inspired artwork. He's brilliant at what he does. And I just wanted to read this to you. It's called their Monsters on the Bus collection. It's from the OCD Stories and Sean Shinnick. And I'm just going to read this quickly. So there's a quote that says, "You can be in the driving seat whilst all the passengers' monsters' thoughts are being critical, abusive, intrusive, distracting, and shouting directions, or something just plain nonsense. You can allow those passengers or monsters to shout and chatter noisily, keeping your attention focused on the road ahead toward your goals and values." And that was Hayes from 1999. So they created so these are limited edition design created by Sean Shinnick and Draw Your Monster in collaboration with the OCD Stories podcast. They chose to create the design around the monsters, passengers on the bus metaphor because we value the idea of living your life how you want to, regardless of what the monsters on your bus are shouting at you. Because at the end of the day, you're behind the wheel of the bus and not them. They can't talk all they want. They can talk all they want. They have no power, which is right in line about everything that we talked about before. So 100% of the profits from the limited edition collection will go to the nonprofit Riley's Wish. And again, Riley's Wish is a charity dedicated to improving those lives of those affected by OCD and substance use disorder. So click on that link, check out what they did. It's really, really, really cool. Yeah, the shirts are amazing. And please tell them, if you email or say hi, tell them Ethan sent you. I know this isn't a radio show, but they're amazing friends of mine, dear friends of mine, and they do amazing work. So I wanted to give them a massive, massive shout out. So as always, thank you for joining me. Just a quick update this Thursday. And hopefully I'll be a little sharper. This Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we'll be doing a town hall on religious scrupulosity. I know we've been asking, you guys have been asking for that for months and months and months. We finally have it. We have a fantastic panel for you. So if you're dealing with religious scrup, or you want to talk about it, or you've been waiting for it, this coming Thursday, the 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern, you'll definitely want to tune in. As always, I want to thank Jess behind the scenes for now sticking with me 5 minutes over and taking care of all the magic behind the scenes. If you haven't already and you want to be notified about all programming at the IOCDF, definitely be sure to subscribe and follow on Facebook and YouTube. You can also check out the calendar online at the IOCDF.org website. Again, feel free to always email the IOCDF at info@iocdf.org or Ethan at just Ethan@iocdf.org. And until then, thank you guys. Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you all for being here. This was a great one. You guys had amazing comments. If you didn't read the comments, read through the comments. There's incredible resources and suggestions and information in all the comments. I love, you guys are all amazing advocates, so thank you. So until next time, 2 weeks from today, stay safe. Have a great rest of your evening. Be vigilant, feel the feels, and don't let OCD off the hook. And until then, we'll see you next time.